Virginia, 1969. A classified facility hidden in the wooded countryside outside Langley. No signs mark the location. No maps show its existence. This is where the Central Intelligence Agency trains its most elite operatives. Men who will operate in hostile territories. Men who need to survive when weapons fail. Men who must know how to kill with their bare hands. Inside a concrete training room, 8 men stand in formation. Each one represents a different branch of special operations. Navy SEALs, Army Special Forces, Marine Force Recon, Air Force Pararescue. They've been training together for 6 weeks. Hand-to-hand combat, close quarters fighting, weapons retention. Every technique designed for one purpose: survival in situations where rules don't exist. Their instructor, a CIA combat trainer named Robert Mitchell, addresses them directly. "Gentlemen, you've mastered our standard curriculum. You can fight, you can kill when necessary. But today, we're bringing in someone different. Someone who claims traditional military combat training has significant gaps." The operatives exchange glances. They've trained with the best. Delta Force instructors, SEAL team specialists, Soviet defectors who taught them Systema. "What gaps could possibly exist?" Mitchell continues. "His name is Bruce Lee, martial arts consultant. He's worked with military programs before. Today he's going to demonstrate why size, strength, and military training aren't always enough." One of the operatives, a SEAL named Carson, speaks up. "With respect, sir, we've tested martial artists before. They work great in controlled environments. Real combat is different. That's exactly what we're testing today. Mr. Lee has requested an unusual demonstration. All 8 of you, against him, simultaneously." The room goes silent. This isn't standard training protocol. This is something else entirely. In 23 seconds, 8 of America's most lethal operatives will understand why the CIA wanted this demonstration classified. Before we continue this incredible classified story, if these secret Bruce Lee military encounters fascinate you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We reveal stories that were buried under security clearances and non-disclosure agreements for decades. These are the encounters that proved martial arts mastery could teach even elite soldiers something new. Now let's see what happened inside that classified facility. Now the request came through unusual channels. 3 months earlier, a CIA analyst named Dr. Sarah Chen had written a report about hand-to-hand combat effectiveness in field operations. Her research showed a troubling pattern. American operatives, despite superior training and physical conditioning, were losing close-quarters encounters at unexpected rates. The problem wasn't technique. Military combat systems were brutally effective. The problem was adaptation. Operatives trained against opponents who fought like them. Military stance, military tactics, military patterns. When facing adversaries trained in completely different systems, unfamiliar angles, unexpected timing, American fighters struggled to adjust. Dr. Chen's recommendation was controversial. Now we need to expose our operatives to martial arts systems that operate on different principles, not to replace military training, to supplement it, to show them what they don't know exists. Her report included one name, Bruce Lee, the martial arts instructor who'd been consulting with Army Special Forces at Fort Bragg, the man who'd reportedly defeated 4 combat instructors in 9 seconds using techniques they'd never encountered. Mitchell had been skeptical, but he'd made calls, verified the Fort Bragg incident, spoken to the instructors who'd tested Bruce. Their descriptions were consistent. "He doesn't fight the way we expect. By the time we recognize what he's doing, it's already done." Mitchell arranged the demonstration, but he'd made it challenging. Not one operative. 8, all at once. If Bruce Lee could handle that scenario, if he could demonstrate principles that worked against multiple trained killers simultaneously, then maybe Dr. Chen's recommendations had merit. Now, standing in the training room, Mitchell watches Bruce Lee arrive. Small man, 5'7", maybe 140 pounds, wearing simple black pants and a fitted shirt. He looks like someone's accountant, not someone about to face 8 operatives who collectively weigh over 1,600 pounds. Bruce bows respectfully to the operatives. They nod back, professional courtesy, but their expressions show skepticism. They've seen martial artists before, demonstrations on compliant partners. Kata performed in empty air. This will be different. This will be 8 trained killers with actual combat experience. Gentlemen, Bruce begins, his accent blending Hong Kong Cantonese with American English. I understand your skepticism. Military combat training is excellent, but it's designed around certain assumptions. What I'll demonstrate are situations where those assumptions create vulnerabilities. Carson, the SEAL, speaks again. What assumptions? That opponents will fight within parameters you recognize, that you'll have time to process what's happening before responding, that your size and strength advantages will be decisive. Another operative, an Army Ranger named Phillips, laughs. Math is math. 8 of us, 1 of you. Combined weight advantage over 1,000 pounds. If we get hands on you, it's over. Bruce nods. You're absolutely right. If you get hands on me, the question is, can you? Mitchell steps forward. Rules for today. 8 on 1. No weapons. Will you attempt to restrain or neutralize Mr. Lee? He attempts to demonstrate how he'd respond. Full contact allowed but controlled intensity. First sign of serious injury. We stop. Clear? Everyone nods. Mr. Lee, you're certain about this? I wouldn't have suggested it otherwise. The 8 operatives spread out, forming a loose circle around Bruce. They're professionals. They understand tactics. Multiple attackers require coordination, simultaneous pressure from different angles, overwhelm the opponent's ability to process threats. Bruce stands in the center, relaxed. No obvious fighting stance, just natural positioning. His breathing is calm. His expression shows no anxiety. Mitchell raises his hand. On my mark. 3, 2, 1. Execute. 4 operatives move first. Carson and Phillips from opposite sides. 2 others, a Marine named Rodriguez and an Air Force PJ named Thompson, from different angles. Standard military coordination. Close distance quickly. Establish control points. Use superior numbers. Bruce doesn't retreat. That would be logical. That would be expected. Instead, he moves forward toward Carson, the closest threat. Not directly at him. At an angle. 45 degrees. Carson's hands reach for Bruce. Trained grab. Establish grip. Use strength. His fingers close on fabric. Bruce's shirt. He's got him. Then Carson realizes his grip is wrong. He's holding fabric, but Bruce's body isn't where it should be. The small man has twisted, used Carson's own pulling motion to spin inside the SEAL's guard. Bruce's elbow connects with Carson's solar plexus. Not full power. Controlled, but precise. Carson's breath expels. His grip releases involuntarily. 3 seconds have elapsed. Phillips arrives from the opposite angle. He's seen Carson's mistake. Won't grab. Will strike. His fist launches toward Bruce's head. Good technique. Full commitment. Bruce's hand intercepts Phillips's wrist. Not blocking. Redirecting. Using Phillips's momentum to pull him off balance. Phillips stumbles forward, past Bruce, directly into Thompson, who's attacking from another angle. The 2 operatives collide. Not hard, but enough to disrupt both their attacks. 6 seconds. Rodriguez, the Marine, is more patient. He circles, looking for opening. Bruce is engaged with others, vulnerable to attack from behind. Rodriguez commits. Low tackle. Take the small man to the ground where size advantages become overwhelming. Bruce's awareness is complete. He feels Rodriguez's approach before seeing it. His body drops, not from the tackle, voluntarily, low stance. Rodriguez's arms close on empty air above Bruce's head. Bruce's palm strikes Rodriguez's thigh. Not hard, just enough to show the opening. In real combat, that would be a devastating blow to the leg's major nerve cluster. Rodriguez understands. He backs off, protecting the leg. 9 seconds. The remaining 4 operatives adjust their strategy. Simultaneous attack from all sides. No gaps. Bruce can't evade in all directions at once. They coordinate with hand signals, military training, silent communication. On 3. All at once. They move. 8 directions of attack, converging on one small man in the center. Bruce's response is unlike anything they've trained against. He doesn't try to escape. He moves toward the weakest point in their coordination. The gap between 2 attackers. Slips through before it closes. Now he's outside their circle. They're grouped together, slightly off balance from their missed attacks. Bruce has positional advantage. His hands move. Rapid strikes, not full power, just demonstrations, pressure points, vulnerable targets. Each operative feels a touch. Solar plexus, floating ribs, kidney, liver, carotid. Strikes that prove openings exist. In 5 seconds, all 8 operatives have been touched. Each touch represents a potential fight-ending blow. 14 seconds total. The operatives reset. They're breathing harder now, not from exhaustion, from mental stress. They can't process what just happened. 8 trained killers with coordinated tactics. See, all neutralized without Bruce throwing a single full-power strike. They attack again, more aggressive, less coordinated, frustration affecting judgment. Bruce's movement becomes a demonstration. He's not fighting to win. He's teaching, showing them where their training creates predictable patterns, where their strength becomes liability, where their size makes them commit too heavily. Each operative gets controlled, not defeated, educated. Bruce puts them in positions where they understand. If this was real, you'd be finished. Then he releases them, resets, shows them why it worked. 23 seconds after Mitchell said, "Execute," all 8 operatives are standing in the training room, breathing hard, completely intact physically, but utterly shocked mentally. Mitchell calls halt. The demonstration is over. The training room is silent. 8 elite operatives trying to process what just happened. They've trained against multiple opponents before, won those fights. This was different. This was being completely outclassed by someone half their collective size. Carson speaks first. His voice is steady, but something has changed. "What the hell was that?" Bruce's response is calm, educational. Military combat training teaches you to use your physical advantages: strength, size, endurance. Against most opponents, that works. But you're predictable. Your stances telegraph your attacks. Your combinations follow patterns. Someone trained to read those patterns can exploit them. Phillips shakes his head. "We've trained against different fighting styles: boxing, Muay Thai, wrestling. We adapt. Those styles share assumptions with military combat: power generation through body mechanics, committed attacks. You understand those languages. What I showed you is different grammar, different syntax. Your brain needs time to translate. By the time you understand what's happening, it's already happened. Make sure you're subscribed and notifications are on, because we have more classified military encounters coming that prove Bruce Lee revolutionized how elite units thought about combat. These stories stayed buried for decades. Drop a comment about what surprised you most. Now let's see the impact of this demonstration." Mitchell steps forward. "Gentlemen, this is exactly what Dr. Chen's report recommended. not replacing your training, expanding it, understanding that your excellent training has edges, places where someone operating on completely different principles can exploit gaps. One of the quieter operatives, an Army SF soldier named Williams, asks the critical question, "Can you teach us what you did?" Bruce considers this carefully. "I can teach you principles, understanding how to read opponents who don't fight like you expect, how to recognize when your training is making you predictable, how to adapt when facing unfamiliar systems." How long would that take? Properly, years, but I can teach you enough in weeks to change how you think about combat. Not new techniques, new perspective. Mitchell looks at Bruce. "You'd be willing to develop a curriculum?" "If the agency thinks it's valuable." After today, I'd say that's confirmed. What followed changed how the CIA approached hand-to-hand combat training, and Bruce Lee spent the next 6 months consulting with the agency, not teaching kung fu, teaching adaptation. How to fight opponents who operated on different principles than military combat assumed. The 8 operatives from that first demonstration became his primary students. They learned not to replace their military training, but to supplement it, understanding pressure points, reading intention instead of waiting for committed attacks, recognizing that efficiency sometimes defeats power. Carson, the SEAL who'd been the first to engage Bruce, became the most dedicated student. Years later, in a classified debriefing after a successful operation, he credited Bruce's training with saving his life. "I was in close quarters with a target who'd trained in an Eastern martial art I didn't recognize. An old military training would have had me rely on strength, size, aggression. Bruce taught me to read unfamiliarity, to adapt in real time, to use opponents' unexpected techniques against them. That knowledge kept me alive." The curriculum Bruce developed for the CIA remained classified for decades. Even today, much of it is restricted, but certain principles filtered into broader special operations training. Understanding that American military combat, while excellent, had cultural blind spots, that fighters from different traditions might operate on principles American training didn't address. Dr. Chen's report, vindicated by Bruce's demonstration, led to broader changes. Military combat instructors began studying diverse martial arts, not to learn specific techniques, to understand different strategic frameworks. Russian Sistema, im Filipino Kali, Israeli Krav Maga, Chinese Jeet Kune Do. Each system offering perspective on combat that traditional American military training didn't provide. The 8 operatives never spoke publicly about that 23-second demonstration. Security clearances prevented it. But among classified military combat communities, the story spread. 8 operatives tested Bruce Lee simultaneously. He controlled all of them without throwing full power strikes. If you get a chance to train with him, take it. Phillips, the ranger who'd been skeptical, wrote in a classified after-action report years later. "Bruce Lee showed us that being the best at what we know isn't the same as being complete. There are ways of fighting, ways of thinking about combat that exist outside our training paradigm. Understanding that doesn't make us weaker. It makes us adaptable." The footage from that day exists somewhere in CIA archives. 23 seconds of classified demonstration showing 8 elite operatives being systematically controlled by a 140-pound martial artist. Those few people who've seen it describe it the same way. Impossible, but documented. Proof that physical advantages mean nothing against someone who understands combat at a level we didn't know existed. Mitchell, the instructor who arranged the demonstration, retired from the CIA in 1985. In his final report, he wrote, "Bringing Bruce Lee into our training program was the most important decision I made in 30 years of developing combat curriculums. He didn't teach our operatives to fight like him. He taught them to think like adaptable martial artists instead of rigid soldiers. That mental shift saved lives. Bruce Lee died in 1973, just 4 years after the CIA demonstration. His work with the agency was still classified. His impact wouldn't be publicly known for decades, but inside the intelligence community, his influence spread. Training programs adopted his principles. Read the opponent, not the technique. Adapt to unfamiliarity instead of forcing familiar responses. Understand that your training creates patterns that sophisticated opponents can exploit. Stay formless, like water. The 8 operatives went on to distinguished careers. Several became instructors themselves, passing along what Bruce taught them. Not specific moves, philosophical approach. The understanding that mastery isn't about perfecting one system. It's about transcending systematic limitations entirely. One operative, who can't be named due to ongoing security restrictions, said in a 2010 oral history project, that 23 seconds changed my entire career. I'd spent 8 years becoming an expert in military combat. Bruce showed me I'd become an expert in one language of violence. There are other languages, other dialects. If you can't understand them, you can't defend against them. Virginia, 1969. 8 elite operatives tested whether martial arts principles could work against real military training. 23 seconds later, they had their answer, not because they lost, because they learned. Size doesn't determine outcomes. Training doesn't guarantee adaptation. Understanding defeats everything. The CIA classified the footage. The operatives signed non-disclosure agreements. The story stayed buried for decades. But the lessons spread through elite military communities. Bruce Lee proved that a 140-pound martial artist could control 8 trained killers simultaneously, not through superior strength, but through superior understanding. And that understanding, that recognition that American military combat training had edges that could be exploited, changed how special operations forces approached hand-to-hand combat for generations. The demonstration lasted 23 seconds. The impact lasted 50 years. Still lasts today. In classified training facilities around the world, instructors teach principles that trace back to that day in Virginia. Read your opponent. Adapt to unfamiliarity. Understand that your training, however excellent, creates predictable patterns. 8 operatives learned that lesson in 23 seconds. Thousands have learned it since, not from defeat, from education. The recognition that mastery requires humility, the willingness to learn from someone who weighs 140 pounds but understands combat at a depth most soldiers never reach. That's the real secret the CIA wanted classified. Not that Bruce Lee won. That he taught elite American operatives they still had something to learn. And that knowledge, that openness to learning from unexpected sources, made them more effective, more adaptable, more likely to survive. 23 seconds, 8 operatives, 1 lesson. The classified demonstration that changed military combat training forever.